everybody. Welcome to the Hallmarkies podcast. We are really excited. We have a very special interview for you today. It's so much fun. I'm film critic Rachel Wagner, and Anne is here.
Hey, everybody.
And yes, we have a double interview today. We are talking to Antonio Cayonne, and Rukiya Bernard is here. And thank you both so much for coming on the podcast.
For having us.
Yes.
Yeah,
Well, so what we thought we would do is just start out, kind of get an update about how you were both doing. And this has just been such a crazy time. We last spoke to Antonio in June, and that was one of my favorite interviews that I've ever done. Not that I compare and contrast, I really don't. But that was a really wonderful interview. And then we talked to Rukiya in January. So boy, has a lot changed since then. But Antonio, how has the summer turned out for you? I know you have the restaurants that you run, and how's that been for you?
Yeah, that has all been really good. We came out of the lockdown over here as far as the restaurants go, and we slowly got back to it. Vancouver, BC has been pretty lucky in terms of how the lockdown has gone. We're actually right now, like as of kind of today or possibly this coming Thursday, we're in the first like really dangerous zone that we've been in a long time, and I anticipate the province is going to offer some version of a lockdown. We're already on don't see your friends quarantine, so that's happening right now. But for us, from a work point of view, for me, like that just doesn't mean anything. I'm still working kind of all the time at the restaurants, and we're doing a lot of what we were doing last time we spoke. I was talking to you about the staff meal initiative and the work that we're sending out into the community, and right now we're kind of doubling down on those efforts and figuring out what it looks like around the holiday season, because we hadn't projected this far to think that food insecurity was still going to be a thing, or that there was still going to be these many difficulties. And so our companies we're collectively looking at who in the city we can kind of like look to help and develop partnerships with. So that's kind of what my day-to-day is right now.
I think that's great. I think, and none of us could have expected this. It was kind of funny in I think July or August, we started offering masks on our merch store on TeePublic. If you go to there, and there were some Christmas ones, and somebody said in the comments like, "Oh no, don't do that. We're not going to have this at Christmas." And I was like,
we wish not.
I'll take a Christmas mask.
That's right.
That's fantastic.
Yeah. And so, yeah, I think a lot of us were hoping that it was all going to be done with by the holidays, but sadly not so much. But
We're in it.
Yeah, it's been an adventure. What about you, Rukiya? How has this whole experience been for you? Did you do any quarantine baking or anything like that?
Yeah, the whole experience has been it's that weird double-edged sword where it's bad and it's also good. You know what I mean? Like when things locked down in March, I bunkered down with my family, and in hindsight, I was thinking, never would I have said, guys, we need to take 2 months off of our lives and spend every single waking hour with each other. And we did that, and it was a beautiful experience. I wrote a ton because I was acting. I was kind of like, oh, what does an actor do when they're not an actor, right? I did that. I cooked like crazy, like super creative stuff. Like it was like my husband was like, "You're becoming very arrogant now with your cooking." I was like, "Did you try this? Did you try this?" Like, I would pay a lot of money for this. I would compliment like myself. So it turned out to be a very creative time for me amidst this awful experience where people are dying, getting sick, and don't know what their futures are looking like, mine included. So it was that kind of double-edged sword thing, which then got punted forward with George Floyd and all the police killings that happened. I was doing a lot of writing, and that just got on steroids after that, and I couldn't stop writing. I haven't stopped writing.
So when you say writing, what kind of I know we're going to talk about your dear Becky article, but what other stuff were you writing screenplays or primarily
Yeah, I
nonfiction?
was doing I don't know if you've heard of the Julia Cameron book, The Artist's Way. It's like, yeah, you know,
Oh
Antonio.
yeah.
I've owned this book since 2004. It makes you write a contract that says like,
Yep.
I will do this every single week. I have never in all these years finished it until quarantine. And I had started pre-coronavirus. I was just, you know, New Year, January, and all that. And the lockdown just allowed the space to really, you know. And one of the exercises that you do are called morning pages, where you write 3 pages longhand, just whatever's on your mind, just get it out, verbal diarrhea, excuse the expression. And and it got to the point, I don't know, by month 2.5, not even, no, earlier, I was sick and tired of complaining about life. Like everything pre that was just like, why isn't this like the same old crap that you complain about in life, right? I got sick and tired of that I just started writing stories in script format of things that were happening with me, with my friends, stories that we had like gossiped about with each other. And I would write way longer than 3 pages because I had to. And then I was like, oh, these are kind of cool. And I just transposed them into final draft. And next thing you knew, I had 12 episodes of a web series.
Wow.
Wow.
So that's where it started. And then it just snowballed from there.
You know, I think a lot of people have had that experience with this.
Yeah.
One of my friends that I host a different podcast with, him and his wife and their friends that live in the same kind of apartment complex, they did a web series that they did together just for fun and to learn new skills and other things like that. It's called Wormholes, if anyone wants to watch it. It's pretty fun. And I think that that's the silver lining, is when anytime in life, when you can take a negative and make it into a positive, that's the way to live.
I think that's the gift of 2020. Like, I love the fact that this crazy year is called 2020, as if it's a big vision.
Yeah.
Right? And it's like, I guess our vision has been really skewed all of these years past. And now, like, the rug has been lifted up. We can see all the dirt that we've just been shoving underneath there. We can clearly see what 2020 is for each of us.
Well, and also I think a lot of things that we would have said, I could never do that, I could never do that. And then all of a sudden you figure, oh, like I could never homeschool my kids. Oh, yes, I can homeschool my kids. Or
I don't want
never.
I don't want to. They don't want me to either.
Or a lot of people have had variations on that, you know, that I can never make my own bread. Oh, yep, I can make my own bread, or whatever it might be. I think there's something kind of empowering about that. So that's cool.
That's great. We want to congratulate you guys on getting leads in Christmas at Evergreen 4. We are so pumped. We're so excited. We have our own chat for all of our hosts. There's 9 of us. And when we found out, everybody's in the chat, oh my gosh, did you see Rukiya and Antonio are going to be the leads? No, we were so excited. Everyone's like, yes, I saw. Congratulations. We're so happy. So we're really excited for you guys. And I want to ask you, how did you guys find out that news? And what does that mean to you?
You go, Antonio.
I mean, I can attack how I found out about it first. Okay. Since last Christmas in Evergreen, I became friends with Zach, the writer, on Instagram. We would just kind of get to writing each other, and at first it was just chit chat, kind of about nothing. And certainly as 2020 ramped up, more and more things were happening in our lives, and on both of our Instagrams we're quite active. And you've seen Rukiya's Instagram, like same thing. Like we all have a very similar outlook, and we're posting things, we're challenging ideas and going at it and whatnot. And so I just got like a quiet, quick message from Zach one day, just kind of saying like, heads up, we're writing this around the 2 of you. and we're gonna sort of finish what we started. So that was how I found out about it.
Okay.
Yeah. What did you hear?
Me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Listen, they've been teasing at a lead for years for me. And it got to the point where it was just like open conversation where I'm like, when do I get mine? When do I get mine? I'm in Wet Winter Weekend, which I share with Taylor Cole, and I love doing that movie. But when do I get mine? Oh, it's coming, Rukiya, it's coming, Rukiya. I'm like, okay. And then last year's Christmas in Evergreen, I was like, it'd be pretty dumb of them to not indulge the rest of the story, because it's like, what happens to Hannah and Elliot? What happens to Michelle and Thomas? And it's like, they're gonna have to bump up those two storylines, because the audience is gonna be like, they're getting married, and are they? So so I kind of had an inclination. I'm really, really glad that they came through on that.
Well, I don't know anybody that wasn't their favorite plot line of the third movie. That everybody that I talked to agrees that was the best part. I figured it was either going to be you two or Holly.
Yeah.
And her story. And I guess it kind of is a mixture. You don't have to. Yeah. Because that just makes sense.
Yeah.
So when you found out, did you like squeal with delight?
Did I squeal? No, because I'm a stinking actor who doesn't believe anything
until it happens.
You've got until it comes out.
Yep.
That's how bad I am. I fight for everything, and Tony will tell you I'm relentless about it. Like, I'm just like, it's not happening. It's not happening. Okay, yeah, she said action and I'm doing my thing, but it's still not happening. It's still not happening. Okay, we got an air date. Great, but it's still not happening. It's still not
until it's live. Until it's
live. I can live tweet along. Exactly. And so I wasn't squealing as more so like just being like, okay, let's get to work. Let's make it the best that we absolutely can, so that they have to air it. Yeah.
So that was basically like, you were like, okay, this is the first step of a long process kind of thing for you.
Yeah, that's how I approach my career in general. The first step of a long process.
But it's true.
That makes sense. That makes sense.
I don't know, Antonio, it seemed like on your Instagram you had a little bit of squealing.
I had something very different. I would say that because of everything that had been happening, it was extremely important to me to believe that Hallmark was going to stand up and change what they were putting on the screen. That was I felt like I had gotten to some version of not a crossroads, but I had gotten to this place where I was like, I don't know how to move forward against the backdrop of my own integrity if this company isn't able to see me and see us and see this movement and see 2020 and all the dirt under the rug as something that does matter and that is here. And so I was prouder of them than I thought I would be when I started to see the changes that they were making. And so certainly, like, for me personally, it took a long time for me to actually stand up and to say, this is happening. I'm a little bit like Rukiya in this regard. Like, I'm a person who books a vacation, but I don't believe it until I got my swim trunks on and I'm in the water. Like, it's just not, I don't really, I don't get stoked. Like, I could be in the plane and the plane.
It's not real to you.
Yeah, it's just not, it doesn't add up for me. But I was chatting, actually, I was texting one night with two people. I was messaging Zach, the writer, and I was also messaging a good buddy of mine at home who he's an actor as well, and I treat him as like my manager. I'm always like, I'm always looking to him for wisdom and for advice, and he delivers every single time. And one of the things that we talked about was how much I believe in and I say representation matters, and how much I do for my nieces, and how much I do for my little guy, and like how I try to live that world. And all of a sudden I went like, wow, me not talking about this is actually being dishonest and disloyal and disrespectful in this moment. I have to stand up and say, hey, hey, little Antonio, who's 13, this is coming, this is happening, this is possible, you belong here. And so that was as close as I got to like my squeal. That was like, that was it for me. It mattered to me to turn and to say, we're doing this, we belong here, and we're not going back the other way. Like, we're done with that. So.
Well, and just after we had talked about the Hallmarkies for Diversity podcast that we did, you and I just, it was kind of you kind of approach it like, oh, are they going to do it? Are they going to do it? And then they announced, I mean, we didn't even know at that point whether they were going to have any movies at all.
Yeah.
And because that was in June, and then they announced, and it was just like every movie, it was just not every movie obviously has the leads that are diverse and everything, but it just felt like every movie had something that was fresh and new, and I was just so happy when I was like, oh, what? Yes.
It was very exciting.
Yeah, it was so exciting.
It was an impressive thing to like sit in the middle of, having been here for a while, right? Like, like I had the moment where I was in something and I was like, I gotta see where it is, and scrolled down the Hallmark page and went, yo, this doesn't look like me. This doesn't reflect me. I don't show up there. And so this year, to be able to scroll down and to go like, yes, cool, all right, everyone's coming to the party, was really exciting. And for me, at least, it made being on set, you know, we talk about like getting to work, like Rukiya and I got to work, like we were like, you know, hosting our own script meetings and like, and figuring out how do we bring who we are to what we're doing so that we can stand there as two people who have lived our lived experiences with integrity and look at each other and go like, we're in this, let's do this. This is for more than just us. It is, you know, that was exciting.
And the movies have been really good. I would watch every single movie that they have released. I would watch again. And I normally can't say that. In fact,
definitely not.
In fact, last year, the very first movie that they aired, I was not a fan of. But they've been really good. And I mean, then they started out with such a good one with Deliver by Christmas, which has a diverse cast, interracial relationship. It's really so fun. And I love that. I give it a perfect score, five crowns. And I don't normally do that. So they've just been making really, really good movies. And but Rukiya, I wanted to ask you real quick. I wanted to ask you about your Dear Becky article, and maybe you could explain to the listeners kind of a little bit about the article. We'll put a link in the description so people can read it. But what was the article about, and what were you trying to say with Dear Becky?
Ooh.
I know it's hard.
So Dear Becky was an op-ed that I wrote I wrote it on my own for the YVR Screen Scene, a local podcast and blog that promotes British Columbia talent and the entertainment industry. And Sabrina Furminger runs it, and I'm friends with her. And she approached me to say, like, I think he has something to say, because I mean, I always do. And it was at a time when, of course, you know, we had the triumvirate of racial killings between Antonio. I'm gonna mess this up.
Ahmaud Arbery?
Ahmaud Arbery, thank you. I was having a dyslexic moment.
It's okay.
And Breonna Taylor, and of course George Floyd. There were others, but they just didn't go viral.
Yeah.
And a lot of people were approaching me being like, oh my God, how are you? And I say, people, I'll be straight up. There are white people basically coming at me, and they were friends and well-meaning and everything, saying, how are you? I hope you're okay. I didn't realize how bad it was, blah, blah, blah. And my response to them was like, I appreciate you reaching out. However, these police killings and racially provoked violence, it happens regularly. I know about it all the time. So the better question is, how are you doing? Because I feel like you are awakening to the fact that racism still exists. And even though I've spoken about it, you haven't really acknowledged that. And by you singling me out and calling me to see how I'm doing, you're kind of angling things in a way that puts the focus back on me as opposed to yourself. And I think you got to wake up now. That's what you're avoiding. And I had that conversation, like my phone was blowing up like crazy that week. And I was just like, and I got sick of it.
Yeah.
And so Sabrina approached me, and I mean, not many people know that she's a woman of color herself. And that's something that she has written and talked about a lot. And I decided to write from the perspective of a letter, kind of the way how I was talking to my friends, but also incorporating what I do for a living, which is being a part of the entertainment industry, which I firmly believe perpetuates stereotypes. And because of those stereotypes, life ends up imitating art, and people of color are treated in a certain way, people who are disabled are treated in a certain way, people who are gay are treated in a certain way, etc., etc. And I was sick of it. So I wrote an article called Dear Becky, as if it was the Black best friend writing a letter to the white friend, who of course is the star of the movie. And I wrote it in the voice of romantic comedy, but I just broke down what I believe the stereotypical tropes that we see are, and breaking them down and how they're affecting real life. So that was Dear Becky.
Yeah, and we could do a whole episode just on this, and we probably should, and we could. But I thought it was really
Powerful.
moving.
Yeah,
it was
Thank
really
you.
good, and I think it definitely made all of us think about our behavior and how we can do better. And I just thought it was really honest, and I really appreciate that you wrote it.
Thank you.
It was really
Thank
great.
you. Thank
Yeah.
you.
very good.
Yeah. And I mean, I think it's gotta, the more that we kind of speak our truth, and the more that we share our experiences, I think the more that we'll see change. And like you said, we've already seen it, even a little bit.
A little bit. I mean,
a little bit.
I want to see the long term of it
Sure.
all. I think about the 90s was a Black renaissance of filmmaking. And, you know, there was lots of Black TV shows on the air. There were lots of Black movies. Ernest Dickerson, who he gave my first job, and he was blowing up with Juice and then all of those Black filmmakers just
that's a good point.
in the 2000s. And that was a decade. And so I'm like, okay, here we are in 2020 with clear vision. Are we going to want to put the blinders back on in another 10 years because this is just too hard? I don't know. I hope not. What I think Hallmark is doing that's great is they've really shifted how they're putting out movies and who they're casting and whatnot. But it's not like the Black renaissance of filmmaking in the 90s it was still quite segregated. There were Black movies, or there were you know, all the other ones, where Hallmark is just like, no, love is love. And so now we are just mixing everyone. Yep, Uncle Bob's gay. And right. And that, I don't know if you can really get rid of that, you know. What I hope is that there's an awakening in society in general, that allows these stories to continue and to grow and to blossom into much deeper and richer stories as well. Because I mean, I look at my kids and they're going to be, oh God, of dating age, you know, in like 50 years, and like soon, and you know, that's going to be a new era of people who are watching TV and stuff, and hopefully because of this moment, what they expect will be reflected, you know. But this is the work that we have to do right now.
So, Antonio, what do you think that the listeners, as viewers, can do to help us not revert back? What can, I mean, because obviously you as actors and Hallmark as producers can actively make choices, but as far as in the production of the content, but as far as the consumers of the content, what can we do to encourage this?
That's a great question. Consumers specifically for Hallmark, I don't know that I know. Like, I don't know that I have a dead on answer for that. One of the things is if you this is not just for Hallmark, but like if you do see something that you don't know something about, get curious. I think one of the things for me that that I write a lot about and I talk a lot about is I feel like actually what we're looking at is a really big failing of education. Like right across North America, I feel like one of the things that we're looking at is education that has been withheld from people, so that we're not able to see all angles. And I'm not interested in telling somebody what is and what isn't. I don't know. But what I do know is that critical thought and curiosity are at the have to be at the center of beginning to see things differently. And so what I do think is really beautiful is that as we're talking about right now, the casting of Hallmark and to some extent the writing of Hallmark is starting to pepper in faces and voices that we haven't heard before. And we as consumers, on the other side in front of our televisions, have to start being able to look at that and wonder why we haven't seen that before, and get curious and even get excited about the fact that we haven't seen it before, but we're seeing it now, and start to ask why. And I do think that just that action will start to move things forward, because you're not having someone answer a question for you. You have to be willing to confront the fact that what's on the screen may not be a mirror of what's in your household, right? Like up until now, we've been able to, certain consumers have become numb to watching these movies, and they can just kind of like put them on and the world looks like my world, so I never really think twice about it. And for the first time, they're looking at a world that doesn't look like yours. Look, I was at work the other day and you're talking about TV shows in the 90s. I was talking about Sister Sister. And I was like going on and on about Sister Sister. And it took me, I swear on my life, it took me a solid 5 minutes before I checked in, and I was like, none of you have seen that before. None of you have even heard what I'm talking about. We have different lived experiences, right? And so for the first time, Hallmark is bringing a lived experience to a group of people who haven't had access to it. And they're saying, here's access. What are you going to do with it? And I know like in our last one, we talked about there are going to be people who will close the door. Okay, close the door. That, like you're going to open the door eventually because you want your Christmas movies. So, so if this is what we're putting in front, I think that is, it behooves us to start to ask, where has this been? Why, like Rukiya said, when she was speaking to her friend, it's like, don't be worried about me. I'm worried about you. Like, why have you not had this thought before? And so there's this really soft lob of an opportunity watching Christmas movies to start asking these questions. And Hallmark on the back end has this new opportunity to start bringing new writers to the world, new directors to the world, new producers to the world who can bring new lived experiences. Like Zach brought in a new writer for Christmas in Evergreen, whereas it was him alone last year who was a white queer male in an interracial relationship, and now he brought a woman of color to the scene. And you have two writers, and I go like, right, the story's going to change. She sees us in a way that you can't see us.
Yeah.
And so I think both, there's a symbiotic relationship that's required, but certainly as consumers, love the Christmas movies with all of your heart, but also like, start to ask the questions.
Well, we also have to remember it's not show fun times, it's show business. It's a business. And so if we show that we show
K-pop army becomes a Hallmarkies army and be like, we need more of this.
Exactly. Yes, that's right. It's true.
I feel like a part of me getting this part was because of the fans. Like I've collected so many tweets, Instagrams like at Hallmark Channel. When is Kia gonna be the lead? I was just like, wow.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you so much for doing that. It means the world to me, right? And I think like that speaks volumes because it's public.
Yeah, you're dead on.
Right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Antonio, what you were saying, it made me think of a famous quote from Roger Ebert where he says, and forgive me for reading, he says, "We all are born with a certain package. We are who we are, where we were born, who we were born as, how we were raised. We're kind of stuck inside that person. And the purpose of civilization and growth is to be able to reach out and empathize a little bit with other people." Yeah. And for me, the movies are like a machine that generates empathy.
Yeah.
It lets you understand a little bit more about different hopes, aspirations, dreams, and fears. It helps you to identify with the people who are sharing this journey with us.
Yeah.
And I think
Yeah.
that's really, really true.
Yeah. It's funny. I mean, like quotes off the top of the cuff. It makes me think of I don't even know. I can't remember who this is. It might be Winston Churchill. I'm not sure, but it's that quote that's evil will prevail when good men and women stand by and do nothing.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And it's like, these are like the quote that you just had by Ebert and this are kind of the two choices. We sit by and we do nothing. And all of a sudden we go from the 90s to 2020 and the dirt's back under the rug and the rug has been nailed down, or the rug has now come up and we start to go, okay, I'm not going to do nothing. I'm going to do everything I can. And from the inside, understand that as a consumer, you have a lot of power, to help to influence the narratives that are getting told on the big screen. Like there's something really beautiful about that.
Well, and just how much better your life is too, if you're talking about Ebert, what he's saying about welcoming in the people that you're sharing this journey with, identifying with them in a new way, how much better your life is if you don't have the limitations of people that you can spend this time with and get to understand and try to be a better person. I think it's really powerful. Yeah. It's really fun. And so, well, not to switch gears too much, but
gears.
But so you have this new Christmas in Evergreen movie, and do you feel like that it is going to be different from the other three, or it's, I don't know, how are you feeling about it compared to the other that you've been in?
I think it's a little bit different because the other three had, the new girl that comes into town and gets wrapped up into the Evergreen world.
That's true, yeah.
Whereas this one now, I mean, there is a new girl that comes to town, but you're really getting to know who these town people are.
Yeah.
We learn more about the people who run the Kringle kitchen, with Joe and Carol. We learn more about Michelle and Thomas. We learn more about Hannah and Elliot, of course. We learn more, oh gosh, just everyone really. Their stories beef up a little bit more, and for me, it just made me fall in love with the characters even more. Just to know, and like interesting connections that happen because of filling out these characters a little bit more.
Yeah.
Do you agree, Antonio?
Yeah, entirely. I mean, I wasn't there for the first two, obviously, and I was there last year. But one of the differences for me was that this year felt like, even though there was a love story, but there were multiple love stories, it was a love letter to the town. Like Rukiya said, like we really got to like meet who the people were, meet how the place came to be, why they want to be there, like what the relevance is generationally. It just feels like in the past we were kind of like anywhere America that happened to be, the epicenter of Christmas. And I haven't seen a final edit, but certainly from living in it felt as though this town could only be what it is and who it is. It's like there is no other Evergreen after you kind of get to see who these people are and where they came from and why they care. Yeah. So and I think that was a theme that was kind of touched on at other times, but it felt very much like Evergreen was a really important character this time.
Okay, that sounds good. Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, so you had a new director this time, working with Linda Lisa. Was that I got to interview her. She's so fun.
I listened to it.
What's that?
I said I listened to it.
Oh, good, yay! What was that like, Rukiya? Was that fun working with her?
Oh, it was so much fun working with Linda Lisa. She is so detail oriented. She is so, I don't know. I mean, Sean McNamara, the last two ones, and Alex Zam, the first one, they were great. But to have a female touch on it was just, I don't know, it's hard to really articulate what specifically was different, but it was just a different approach. Now, granted, you know, I had a lot more work to do. So maybe my opinion would be different if, you know, Sean or Alex had directed me in this capacity.
Right.
But working with Linda was so awesome. Like, we would talk off camera just about our kids and just, I don't know, we both love Aviator Nation tracksuits and like, where you buy yours from now? It was just really sweet. She would come into the makeup trailer every single morning to wish everyone a good day, and it was just a different vibe, you know. And that's not to throw shade at our other two directors, because they were awesome and got it a part 4. But Linda Lisa, I'm really happy for her because she's a new director as well, and I thought she knocked it out of the park. It was.
She seems like she'd be a very like calming presence on set.
Yeah.
To me.
The energy on set was certainly noticeably different. Like she and I, you know, I credit that to her. Like, I think whatever it is that she walks in with, whatever it is that sort of fuels her, she's cheerful, she's happy, she's excited, she's full of joy. Like she's doing a thing she loves in the moment, not in retrospect. You know, it's not like she looks back and like, that was a great experience. Like, she's in it and she's like, this is great. Like, she's stoked on it.
Oh, that's awesome. You guys tell us what it was like filming in COVID with the restrictions and the mouthwash for kissing and all this stuff, you know. Tell us what that's like.
You go, Antonio. You go.
I mean, it's weird. It is. Let's get the political part out of the way. It is important.
Yes.
It's very important. And we are happy that it was there and all of that. We are supportive of it. But it's weird. It's weird. It takes you out of it. Like, you have like 4 steps. We're not only talking about intimacy. Like, we're not just talking kissing. We're talking about, like, if you are standing too close to rehearse, you have to go through this whole rigmarole, which is washing your mouth out with hydrogen peroxide that has some mintiness in it, which is nice sometimes, but it foams and it's not nice. Spraying your mouth with like an antiseptic, washing the hands, gargling. Was there something else? Like, it's all these things.
The sign in every single morning.
Every day,
there was, you know, a couple of people on set all day that just regulating, and like, they have the power on set. If they see any tomfoolery and none of it is corrected, they're like, the movie's done. Movie's done. Y'all are done.
Yeah.
They trump the network. Right?
Yeah. Wow.
It is serious. And
like time sanitizing and like cycling through
temperature checks. Like, it's a weird experience. Even the way how the script is designed is COVID considering.
Yeah.
So they like
the scene proximity. Like,
what's that?
I was just saying, like scenes are written in such a way that like you're not all together.
Yeah, and a minimal amount of characters are there. Like, just they've been doing very creative things to make it work. But it's certainly different, right? What I think though, that because, like, you know, the big table scene, you can't have that anymore. It invites a more intimate conversation with people. And for me, I mean, circling back to my previous answer, I feel like that's where certain characters got to know other characters as well, because you got to have like one-on-one time, which just requires revealing of the soul of the character, you know. And for the audience, I imagine that's kind of cool to be like, oh, I never knew that about Carol. Oh, I never knew that about Joe, right? And that was all, in my opinion, I mean, ask Zach and Shari, that was because of COVID, like, okay, we gotta write this thing now, right? But the whole, like, oh God, like the mouthwash and you know, have you washed your hands? Like, all that kind of stuff.
Did you get tested a lot?
Oh,
yeah. You have to get tested a lot.
Having someone pick my nose has become completely normal now.
Doesn't bother me one bit.
I feel like strangers have picked my nose more than have shaken my hand in the last few months, man. Right, Antonio? Like,
I don't even think twice about it anymore. It just doesn't.
No, it's just like, okay, lean back.
Yeah, I hear people complain. I'm like, oh, okay, it's fine.
But it's not, because I've been tested myself. It's not even, I think that's putting it nicely. It's more like picking your brain.
Yeah.
You got that one. There's different tests out there. So we're not necessarily getting the one where they go up into the nasal cavity. I've had that one. I feel you, girl. Like, it's
crazy.
Invasive.
It's beyond invasive because you feel it like afterwards for like an hour.
Oh my gosh.
I don't know about, like, that's when I got it done. I was just like, oh my God, like the tears just started coming down, like, get out. And like, it was awful, man.
Oh, that's bad.
Right?
Yeah.
The one that we got on set they go fairly up, but it's not in the back of the nasal cavity. But they pick both nose, and they don't switch the thing for whatever medical reason. So you get a wet one, and then the wet one goes in the other one. You're just like, there's nothing sexy about this at all. And then you're like, I hope I'm not asymptomatic, right?
Yeah.
I want to keep on working and pay my bills. So
you know, it also induced a new type of fear. Like, I would wake up and I'd be like, do I have a sick? Oh my God. I'm panicking. I have to go to set. And I'm like, am I sick? And then, you know, within 5 minutes of waking up, you're like, no, I'm not sick. I just woke up. Like, I've lived like this my whole life. But you're questioning things the way that you've never questioned it, because the ramifications are, we're done. Like, it's just over.
You know, I have to say though, what I do appreciate about it is like, people don't show up to work sick anymore.
Boom.
You know how like before you were like, oh, you know, it's just a little sniffle, it's whatever. Oh, a little sore throat. Yeah, I feel like I'm coming down with something. Like you cannot say that publicly anymore, right?
Yeah.
And on set, there's just you can't do that. Like I'll never forget when I was shooting One Winter Proposal Part 2. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember you saying that.
Yeah.
I was sick as a dog. Like I did the first week fine, and then something happened, and by week 2, these movies take 3 weeks to shoot. By week 2, something knocked me flat on my butt. Like I left set to go into a corner and fall asleep. I have never just like straight up like just away. I have never done that. I was sick.
Yeah.
And because, you know, I'm starring in that movie, we couldn't be like, you need to take the day off, Rukiya. You can't do that. You can't. I mean, they rewrote stuff and they did the best that they could, but I'm not replaceable. Antonio's not replaceable. So, and then once I got sick, and I think it was someone else from set as well, it just, you know, people just started dropping like flies for the next 2 weeks. But in the past, that was completely normal.
Just normal.
Completely normal. Yeah. And now that's just a no-go. So that gives me like a lot of hope to be like, okay, I can actually get through this without like so much paranoia about getting a cough or whatever, you know, certainly not doing I mean, I've had instances where you're not on a Hallmark show, but where you do like kissing scenes and your partner is sick and they're like, action. And I'm like, I don't want to.
Yeah.
And they're like, tick-tock, we're paying you. And you had to do it now. You just don't do that anymore.
And it's funny, it feels like even back then, from the inside, it feels like such an unreasonable ask. And from the outside, it's like, this is what you do. So you just did it. And now it feels like, oh, we're all on the same page here. Like, this is not a thing we should be doing.
Yeah.
Sometimes they're strangers, right? Like we're not talking about people that even know each other or in that way. You're just like, oh, I just met you and we're doing the scene today. It's like, what?
Yeah, I've thought about that too, even just as a critic, that I would have screenings where I would go where I was really sick and I was just trying to, you know, make it as a critic and trying to hustle. And there was one time when I fell asleep for almost the entire movie because I was so sick. And I was just kind of thinking lately, I was just thinking, what was I thinking? I mean, that's obviously an optional activity, but I was just trying, you know, I was trying to hustle. I was trying to,
but I mean,
it was a different time.
that's the way how life was structured. You know, you have sick days, and you can only take so many of them. Then that gets
Yeah.
passed over into like it was just built into our society in general.
To
So
think that way. Yeah.
yeah. So you're sick, whatever. Okay, action, go.
Yeah.
Yeah. By the way, Antonio, Rukiya, Antonio. Okay, go.
Go.
Just go. We don't know each other, but go. Right. That's why we hired you. So that was the way it was, and the gift with COVID, and the small little gift, is that things have shifted that way, and I think that goes across industries.
And truly, like, no one wants to work when they're sick, so it is a bit of a kindness now.
No one wants to work with you when you're sick.
No one wants to be around at all when you're sick, right? Isn't it funny though that there are so many things that have been socially acceptable that now because of COVID you can't do, but when you look back on them, you're like we used to blow spit on birthday cakes. That's not like an archaic practice. That was like 7 months ago.
That was like in January.
we would hold a cake in front of like a 3-year-old that doesn't know how to blow air, and they would just
oh god.
January, I was like, everybody, come on.
Oh god. Yeah, I know.
So hopefully, you know, like at the very least, you know, we're talking silver linings that are coming out of this. We're looking at things differently and saying we maybe could treat ourselves better.
Yeah.
Maybe we could treat each other better. Like, what would this look like?
Yeah, 2020 vision.
Yep.
Well, I mean, it is true because most of the time as adults, our lives are just about doing the same repeated activities over and over and over again. I don't care if you think you have the fanciest job in the world, you still do the same set of activities over and over and over again. Yeah, but not in 2020. That's been one
Change it up.
Everything's up for grabs.
Yeah.
Well, we're really excited about the new movie. I think it's gonna be really fun. It's always a joy to get to go back to Evergreen, and we're just so excited for you too. And hopefully it'll be first of many lead roles. And
yes,
so we like to end our interviews with some fun questions,
right?
Some fun, silly. And we have the holiday edition here for you both.
Are you guys ready?
Ready.
All right. Favorite holiday drink?
Rosé.
Oh yeah, rosé. Okay, Antonio.
That's a holiday drink. That's my thing.
It was eggnog. Spiked eggnog is my jam.
Okay, all right, nice. Favorite holiday cookie or treat?
Well, we go to our cabin a lot, so we make s'mores.
Ooh,
so I love that. Yes. Anything with a marshmallow.
I don't know. I guess they're a type of shortbread cookie, but you know those blue tins of cookies?
Oh yeah,
that,
butter
if you
cookies.
Open up at the wrong person's house. There's sewing material in there, and you get angry.
Oh yeah.
I'm like, just
that one.
Okay.
Those. Yeah,
those
are really good.
Basic cookie on the market. I should be embarrassed about it, but like, I will crush that tin.
Yeah,
that's okay. Whatever you like, that's good. Favorite Christmas song or carol?
I love growing up "Oh Holy Night."
That's a good one.
I learned how to play on the piano.
Oh, nice. Antonio?
I can't do Christmas without taking down the entire Boney M Christmas album daily.
Yeah.
Daily. So
nice.
There's that.
All right.
Boney M though. I mean, what? It's great Christmas.
You're gonna have to have a link for that.
Yeah, I think so.
And everyone can be like,
if you don't know, it's like Caribbean Christmas carols. It's amazing. It's the best.
Okay, I'm gonna look it up.
Hey,
so yeah, you're gonna have to send me how to spell that because I don't even know.
I'll send it to you.
Okay. All right. Favorite holiday tradition?
You go first, Antonia. I'm first, the last two.
Well, I was just thinking, like, we're kind of building our new traditions. My little guy's only 2.5, and so we're just kind of like finding our way in it. Growing up, honestly, my favorite holiday tradition was eating saltfish and bake on Christmas morning. That was it for me. Like, it was food based.
Okay.
And
saltfish and bacon.
Bake like biscuits, like bake.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Like saltfish and ackee, and then like bake on the side, like this, like hard dough or sourdough bread.
Mm-hmm.
But now, we're 2 years into like trekking into a field and cutting down our own Christmas tree, and there's something like I didn't grow up doing that, and so I quite like it. but I have a feeling that this answer in 10 years is going to change based on like what lights my kid up.
Yeah, that's probably true.
Uh,
Nice.
uh,
Rukiya?
Ditto. Yeah, we grew up with ackee and saltfish and rice and peas and a very West Indian and everything having a reggae lilt to it.
Yep.
But now, especially with our cabin, we go out and we cut our own tree and decorate it. And my kids really love making their own decorations, and we have a very eclectic spread now for our tree. So I mean, that's been, I mean, when was it? Last year or 2 years ago, we cut down like a 10, 12-foot tree. It was huge, huge.
Oh my gosh. Wow.
Yeah, we couldn't even reach the top of it. So, like,
That sounds Hallmark worthy. That really does.
amazing. That was my brother-in-law who was like, we're going to take that one. And then we had to haul this thing out. It was
man.
Whoa.
really memorable. It was really memorable.
That sounds great. All right. The next couple, you're going to choose one or the other. So Scrooge or the Grinch?
Grinch.
Yeah, Grinch.
Okay. Clear lights or colored?
Clear.
I go colored lights.
Nice. Snowball fight or build a snowman?
Snowball fight. I mean,
Yeah, that's a more fun one. Do you consider yourself a good gift wrapper or not?
Terrible.
awful.
Okay. You both agree that you both what do you have an ugly Christmas sweater, and what's on it if you do?
I used to. I made mine from like the dollar store and then going to the secondhand store and sewing stuff on.
Sounds
And then
epic.
we moved. I like purged a whole bunch, so I gotta make another
gotcha.
ugly sweater.
Okay.
I have one right now in rotation, and it has Drake on it, and I think it's hilarious. Like, I couldn't find anything funny.
Oh, that's so funny. Yeah, I love that. Oh, great. All right. Thank you guys so much.
Very good. You passed the test. It's very
You
exciting.
did it.
Good job. Well, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. This was so much fun to have both of you on. And so we're really looking forward to the new movie. And do you have social media and things like that you'd like to share? What about you, Antonio?
You go first.
My Instagram is just my first and last name, Antonio Cayonne.
Okay,
And
great.
just follow me. I talk a lot about nothing.
Amazing. And he doesn't talk about nothing. He's beautiful. And I'm Rukiya.Bernard on Instagram and Rukiya Bernard on Twitter and Rukiya Bernard on Facebook, but they're all connected.
They're all attached.
Yeah.
Well, I hope you have a very, very Merry Christmas.
Yeah,
And
you
hopefully,
too.
Merry Christmas.
Thank
we'll
you.
hopefully have you
too.
on again another time soon.
We appreciate all the support and sort of, not just the Christmas movies for us, but the Christmas movies for everybody.
Mhm, that's right.
Yeah.
For me, this has been really exciting getting to know you both, because I didn't know you before this, and I feel like we met at a very interesting time.
Yes.
And for me, that's like a pretty bonding experience. So, I appreciate being able to come back on here and talk at least a little bit on the other side of something, and kind of in and around a movie like this. And thank you for hosting us.
Oh yeah, we're looking forward to the movie. Will you guys be live tweeting?
Oh yeah.
Maybe.
We will be, yeah.
Oh,
All
good.
right, we'll be there.
Well, we'll have all of your information in the description, so everybody check it out and let us know what you think about all the things that we talked about. We would love to hear your insight. And thanks again to everybody, and we'll talk to you all later. Merry Christmas!
Merry Christmas.
I'd like to thank Rukiya and Antonio for coming on the podcast. This was so much fun to get to talk with them. And Anne, where can people find you?
You can find me on Instagram and Twitter at awscott21.
Great. And you can find me at Rachel's Reviews, all of our social media, iTunes, YouTube, and on Rotten Tomatoes. So please check that out. Make sure you're following the podcast at Hallmarkies Pod and Hallmarkies Podcast, all over social media. And if you're listening on iTunes, please leave your ratings and reviews. That helps us out so much. And if you are watching on YouTube, please give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. We appreciate that so much. We have our Patreon group, which has behind the scenes watch-alongs where you get to hear from the creators and get to watch the movies. It's really fun. So if you want to participate in that, any level patron can join in. Only $2 a month. We just had one with Two Turtle Doves, director Leslie Desmirandes and producer Kevin Duda, and it was really fun. So take a look at that. We really, really appreciate it. And then we also have our merch store, which has tons of festive designs. So please take a look at that. And we have right now, if you go to hallmarkiespodcast.com/Zoom backgrounds, you can download the Zoom backgrounds
Just like
free.
Rachel had.
Yes, that I have here. And there's several different ones from Jessica Miller, and they're free and just really fun and our little Christmas gifts to all of you. So check that out. And thanks again to Rukiya and Antonio, and thanks Anne, and we'll talk to you all later. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. Bye-bye.